Hello and welcome to Stereotypical, the podcast about music and the people that make it. My name is Liam McGrath. I am, as always, joined by Mr. Jack O'Neill. Today we're doing a good new music review, man. It's been ages since we've done a new mu. A band that we've discussed a fair bit on the podcast before.
Goated band.
One of my favourite bands of all time, I would say.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about the 1975's new album, Being Funny in a Foreign Language. So...
The dickheads with the titles, man, aren't they? They are dickheads with the title.
They are, yeah. It is. Well, little insider knowledge.
Go on, I'll learn. I'll do some learning.
Being Funny in a Foreign Language was originally the name of... Shiny Collarbone on Notes. Don't know if you remember that tune.
Mm-hmm.
That was originally called Being Funny in a Foreign Language, but when they put all of the samples of... I can't remember who the guy is who does all like the vocal samples and stuff on it, but it's like... I feel like he's like Jamaican or something, and they were like, we can't call this Being Funny in a Foreign Language because all right. So on some of the CD versions, including the CD version I have of Notes, when you put it in the CD player, Shiny Collarbone is still called Being Funny in a Foreign Language.
That is interesting.
And now obviously they've thought, oh, that's a good title, we'll still use it in some capacity.
I like that. It's one of the things you said, like, you could have just written down, you know you're going to use it at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, to be honest, I wasn't expecting a 75 album anytime soon. It kind of came somewhat out of the blue when they started releasing new singles, because they'd said after Notes that they were going to, take a bit of time and disappear for a bit, but it's still only been 2 years, which has been the interval between pretty much every album, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it was about time. It was
for a new record.
Yeah, because like when I think of like Notes, like I think of like, lockdown and that sort of time, and that feels ages away now.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like you're saying, like, 2 years is a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of felt right.
Yeah, and it's always welcome. I will always welcome a new 75 record. So what had you, going into this album, had you heard all the singles? What was your thoughts before the whole thing dropped?
So I don't know when I heard I think I was in bed, like, when they was putting it on the radio, or like the YouTube video was going live, with part of the band. So I watched that as soon as it came out. And I was instantly, like, gratified. I was like,
I was intrigued.
It's a bit of me.
Because it was a bit different as well, innit? You know what I mean?
But this is what I was going to say before you asked the question. Like, I always expect something different from the 75 with every new album. And, it's justified because, like, they always talk about, like, eras and things like that. And every time he talks about, like, the title track, it's like a position of where they are or some shit like that.
Yeah.
So I was expecting something a bit different. So part of the band was, like, it's happy. It's what we both like Jack Antonoff, which obviously I feel like we're going to bring up.
Record produced by Jack Antonoff.
A lot of the time.
Yeah.
Because it just sounded like you could tell.
I could hear it
instantly.
Especially having heard that most recent Bleachers record.
Yeah.
There is, I think, a tune called 91 or 94 or something, which has got that cello type thing in, you know what I mean? It's got that like driving strings.
Yeah.
And I was like, I instantly made the connection, you know what I mean?
It reminded me of the song with Springsteen on.
Yeah, I get that a bit as well.
It sounds, I can't remember what that one's called, to be fair, off the top of the dome.
Chinatown, I think.
Maybe. But it sounded instantly like that, I feel like we're at a point now where he's done a lot of different records in his time, but he's like defined that sort of like live
Antonoff.
Yeah. Sort of sound as his own. So you can instantly tell. So I was instantly buzzing.
I was also getting like slightly Bon Iver vibes from, like the acoustic chorus of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the chorus I didn't expect to be the chorus.
And the falsetto vocal. Obviously not to the same level as Bon Iver, but you know what I mean?
So when part of the band came out, I had that on repeat for a while.
Yeah, I was into it.
I'm still really into it now. The next one was Happiness. I was like very repetitive.
Yeah, it didn't really do it for me either. It's a bit generic, really, for what?
For what?
Yeah. I
like we're just saying but we just mean like for what the 1975 usually do. What they go for.
It sounded like if someone went like, "What does the 1975 sound like?" Here, you know what I mean? It's got that little guitar, like little guitar riffs that are going on, little 80s sound.
I just expect like unexpected things. You know what I mean? Like I don't really know what's coming, but for a song that was very much like loopish,
probably my least favorite song on the album. I do appreciate how they sort of did the 75, but in a more like almost like live sounding way. And like, so for example, the guitar solo on that tune is an acoustic guitar and not an electric guitar. You know what I mean? Which is a bit subverting the the norm, I guess, but it still wasn't.
After Happiness,
I'm in Love with You, maybe,
I'm in Love with
which
You,
was like better than Happiness, but sort of more of the same. You know what I mean?
It was a nice middle ground.
Yeah.
But I always find debut singles hard
from an album.
To like have a perception of what it's going to be.
I think especially with a 1975 record, you know what I mean? Because they can be quite varying.
Exactly. That's what I mean, like, especially on Notes, which is an album of like a lot of different genres in it. There's a lot of different styles going on in there.
Yeah.
Where this one is very much samey.
Yeah.
A lot of them sound the same. So I've learnt now to not go off the first single.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a kick in the teeth considering that was the best one that we had.
Yeah. Well, I quite liked All I Need to Hear. That came out before the album as well.
Oh, that one I didn't listen to them.
Oh, did you? Okay.
No, I didn't. They're the three that I heard beforehand.
Right.
And it came out, and I knew we was going to do, obviously, a podcast on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't listen to it straight away.
Right.
But we was meant to do this like a week ago, weren't we, really?
Yeah.
And I've had more time to listen to it now. So now I'm just thinking, has my perception changed?
Right.
In that time frame.
Well, I guess we'll explore it, man. We'll get into it. So
let's just start by saying 11 songs.
Oh, it makes you happy, doesn't it? You love a short album.
And 43 minutes. I was like, my God.
Well, and
oh my God.
I think that plays into one of the things that I want to talk about as well is that it's very much an album. It's very cohesive. It's very like you can put this on from start to finish, and it doesn't take half a day.
Yeah.
And all the songs sort of live in the same world, which obviously we hadn't had in a while because Notes was so fucking sprawling and all over the place. And they did say that going into it that they wanted it to be like a little snapshot of a time. It's like this is what we're doing. You know what I mean? Like almost as if they were like, okay, what would a 1975 record sound like? And then make that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could get it. I don't know how fond I was of it being so cohesive.
Did you think it got a bit samey or something?
I just expected it to be a bit wilder.
Yeah, because it's not reinventing the wheel. It's very 1975, isn't it? It's very like there's a lot of those sort of poppy, bangery 80s.
I don't know if it is very 1975.
I think you could say
as far as 1975 albums go.
No, but I mean, like, okay, so on each 75 album since the beginning, there's been at least one, if not a couple, of songs that are like the 80s banger. You know what I mean? So, like, Too Shy.
Yeah.
It's Not Living, It's Not With You. And then obviously the first two albums had like a handful more because that was more of the aesthetic at the time. Whereas I think this album is like majoritarily that. You look at Happiness, you look at I'm in Love with You, you look at Oh Caroline. It is that sort of 80s throwback vibe.
Yeah.
Which, again, you know, it's not reinventing the wheel, but I think it sets out its stall and it's like, okay, this is what we're doing. And it does that quite well because...
It delivers, doesn't it? It delivers what it does deliver, setting out to do.
Like I say, not reinventing the wheel, but there are, like, bangers on there.
Yeah. Like, I'm not in any way, like, dumbing it down. I'm not I'm not giving it any negative things because I do like it.
Right.
But it's just because I know how creative... the fellas are.
Yeah.
The fellas are the Donnies, aren't they? Yeah. Let's be honest. And it sounds to me like I did watch Fantano review it, right?
Yeah, man.
And to be fair, he said two good things, right?
Right.
And it was like Jack Antonoff is more a producer than like a songwriter.
Right.
And Matty Healy's fucking Matty Healy.
Mm-hmm.
So together it works ridiculously well.
Yeah.
But it does sound like more of a Jack Antonoff record.
I wouldn't necessarily go so far as to say it sounds like more of a Jack Antonoff record because, like I say, I do think it has those core 1975 aesthetics in it. But I can definitely hear his influence, like some of the tunes and particularly some of like Matty's vocal delivery, the sort of throwaway, just talkish stuff does sound like stuff that could have been on the last Bleachers record. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm not against that.
That's the only. No, I'm not against it. But it's the only thing I think that held it back a little bit.
Yeah.
That it just went. If one of them's on that road and one of them's on that road, it's not met in the middle as much as I hoped it would. It's just kind of gone off.
Right. No, I think it does meet in the middle.
No,
I wouldn't say that, man, because it has got a lot of the. Aside from a lot of the electronic production, right? It's kind of like a live 1975. You know what I mean? it takes away the electronic production, but it's still got all the core elements.
Yeah, in a
beats,
very like foundation
aesthetics.
Sort of way.
Yeah.
But I just think it's because a lot of the time when there's a good 75 song, I feel like a little bit blown away.
Right.
By like, I don't know how they've come up with that because it's that good.
Yeah.
Where on this one, it was like, I can understand how that song has come about.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot more generic, isn't it? It's a lot more basic.
Only compared.
Yeah. But I think, and we've talked a lot before about like how much I like progression in artists, you know what I mean? But I think there is also something to be said from just doing the basics really well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like cutting down on the bells and whistles and just getting to the core of a good pop song, which I think they do quite a lot on this record. You know what I mean? Should we get into some points? So you're saying as a whole, you did quite like it.
I think it's up there, man.
Up there.
I put it up there. Yeah.
Up there in the 75.
Up there in the 75. Yeah.
Okay.
Catalogue.
Dare I ask what you would put it in?
I've not given it a definitive spot, but it is because it is such a good, easy listen. There's a lot of good songs like you're saying, like basic good songs. The songwriting is really good.
The songwriting is good, yeah.
Like better than
particularly in a pop sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And maybe it's because the songs are like you're saying, no bells and whistles, no fancy shit going on, really.
Yeah, it doesn't try and do too much.
Yeah,
just gets to the point.
Yeah, so it makes you realise actually that this guy is like a bit of a genius, isn't he?
Matty.
He's a good writer.
He is, yeah. You can't underestimate George's.
No, but that's what I'm going with, like just like the songs in like its written form.
Yeah.
Like are very, very good.
Yeah.
So yeah, go on from the top.
All around solid album, good songs, good consistent aesthetic, which obviously we've talked about before. You know, we like that. Good runtime I've got as well. I knew you'd mention the runtime because you love a fucking short runtime. Again, you can hear the Bleachers vibes. Not a bad thing. I don't think it's necessarily too Bleachers-y. I don't think it's not Bleachers enough-y. I think it's just you can hear Jack's influence, but I think also it's arguable that the 75 were going in a similar direction anyway, and maybe there's more parallels between the two of them than people would have necessarily drawn in the past.
I don't know if I agree on that.
Well, we'll agree to disagree. It's not the most interesting album, obviously. I wouldn't say either in its production or its songwriting.
I think the mix makes it interesting.
See, not that the mixes are bad, but it's definitely, and this is the first one that hasn't been mixed by Mike Crossy, so they've got a new mix engineer involved, or several new. I don't really know.
That'd be interesting to find out who that is.
Yeah, I think it's a bit messier, but that plays into the aesthetic because it is more of a live sounding album. You know,
I've got it down as busy. It's very busy.
There's a lot of live instrumentation going on, and I think that sort of plays into, find out who it is. That sort of plays into just the whole aesthetic of the album. You know what I mean? It's meant to be a bit more rough, maybe meant to sound a bit more throwbacky, shall we say?
Like. Definitely busy. There's a lot of stuff going on. I think that I like the automation of volumes in like it sounds to me like they are doing
a little fader rider.
Yeah, on the desk.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean? I feel like that's good. Like you're saying, like I keep saying dumbing it down, but they're not dumbing it down.
Yeah, they're just stripping it back to basics and trying to do the basics really well is what I'd say they're doing. I've actually wrote in my notes. Not the most interesting album by any means, but they set out with a plan and they achieved it. Pushed the oat out less than usual. Pushed the boat out, obviously.
Less than usual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a massive stretch, apart from part of the band, which is a bit left field. And maybe the sort of inclusion of fiddles on what's the last tune called? When We Are Together. There's nothing really that they haven't done before.
Jesus Christ 2005, that song.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I think it's similar.
I think it's very, very similar.
Well, I think particularly in All I Need to Hear, you hear like I feel like he's done that vocal cadence before. You know what I mean? It's very Matty Healy lines. There's a great sweep in that song towards the end where it does a big Beatlesy chord change, and I was like, oh yeah, no, that actually some of these, like I can hear Beatles influence on some of the tunes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
which is I didn't expect to hear from the 1975, but fair play, man. Never going to knock a Beatles reference.
I like how the title track, no, not the title track, the first track on the album is different.
Right, well, we should talk about this because I don't know if I do. Maybe it's just because I loved the idea of it being the same song all the time and that is in a different aesthetic. You know what I mean? I feel like this is just another song. Like the 1975 version on this album is just another song, and they've just gone, we'll just call this the 1975.
See, I was kind of thought of it as the opposite way because it does sound like the 1975, as in the track title sort of song. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't sound songy.
Yeah, it's more songy though.
It's obviously more songy than the past ones.
Yeah.
But like that, the 1975 is maybe my favourite.
Of all of them?
Yeah.
Of all of the 1975s?
No.
Of all of the tracks on the album?
Yeah. Obviously, we're going to get into like, Oh Caroline, right?
That's mad, that.
But like, that's the one I always go back to. I think it's crazy.
That is mad. Have you listened to them on Tape Notes podcast yet?
I've seen one clip where
you should listen to the full one because the version of the 1975 on this record was very different originally, and it was very like notesy.
Yeah.
And then they just like changed the aesthetic up and was like, okay, this fits on this album now. But I don't know why that made them put it as the 1975. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's an interesting thought process then, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
If saying now it fits, whack it as the 1975.
Yeah, it is weird. And you know, I'm not saying it's a bad song. Like I do appreciate it as a song on the album, but I'm just not sure that I like it being that version of the 1975.
I think it encapsulates what they were trying to say, though. Like when you were saying, like it's a different aesthetic every album.
Yeah, it definitely does set the aesthetic out for the album. You're like, okay, this is what we're in for. But I liked the idea of it being the same song every time that changed into the aesthetic of each album. Because if you think about it, even though it's the same song on the first three albums, it very much does take on the sound of whatever
100%, yeah.
else is going 100%. On. So I don't know, like it's a good song, but it's not.
Right now, it's my favourite one.
That is mad. I was speaking to Sean about it.
Shawnee G.
Shout out Shawnee G. And he was, he said he was listening. He was sort of texting me in real time as he was listening to it. He was like, I'm going to listen to this album now. And he was like, I'm halfway through the first song and I'm already out. And I was like, yeah, I don't think this album's for you, lad, to be honest, because he likes very much like the OG 75, you know what I mean? Which, I love as well, but I can appreciate the evolution. Again, I think it is the most 1975 album.
It's the most 1975 album. I don't know, you know.
I get what they were saying when they were like, we wanted to almost be like, okay, what do we sound like? Let's make that. You know what I mean? And that's why, I don't know if you've seen any of like the TV appearances or live performances surrounding this or interviews or anything, but they're all wearing suits. They're like, okay, we're going to dress like the band. We're going to sound like the band. This is what the 1975 is.
That's crazy then, because then that's just my perception of what I think the 1975 would sound like is totally different. Not totally different.
Yeah, well,
I
guess you can say, but the 1975 by its core doesn't sound like anything specific because they're so sprawling.
Okay, yeah, true.
And that's fair.
But if we're going to say...
also, like, if you're talking about, like, what 1975...
Proper miles above me.
What 1975 bangers are...
Yeah.
You're Too Shy's, It's Not Living's.
But what I'm saying is, like, if you're going to say what album from what the albums they've done would you say sounds like the 1975 the most? Like, what are you saying?
Well, the first one, probably.
See, that's what I mean. That would be a sensible answer.
Yeah.
But again, baby steps, isn't it? Like, they're getting into the swing of things. So I'd say I like it when you sleep. That's what I'd say is like very 1975-ish.
Right, well, I feel like we're going on a tangent here. We can have this discussion.
No, we're on about...
But
we're on about this album being... They're writing an album what they think.
I guess that's just like our different perceptions of what the 1975 is at its core.
Yeah,
and like I'm saying...
compared to what they're saying.
The 1975, by definition, is nothing specific at its core. Like, the whole idea is like they create in the way they consume. They said it a million times. Like, it's just the way... Like, they don't have to stick to one genre.
No. But we're on about this album.
Yeah.
Being what do they sound like?
Yeah. So this is the first time that they have gone, okay, a large part of the 1975 is these sort of 80s-ish bangers. So we're going to that's going to be the main aesthetic. But obviously, there's also the folky, acousticy shit that has come in over the past couple of albums in there as well. They've chosen a pocket of what they do and gone very specifically like this is us for now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I understand what you're saying.
Which is what I'm saying. Like it knows what it is. It understands the form really well, and it's almost like they set out with a clear goal and was like, we're making this record, and they've done that really well. Like Marty referenced this album, Hats by the Blue Nile, which I was already familiar with, which does the same thing. It's not a massively out there album, but it's like, okay, this is the world we're living in. Let's create that, and there you go. They just do it really well. It understands the form very well.
I think it's levels, man.
What do you mean?
Like, what you're saying, like, makes sense. Like, yeah, you're ticking their boxes. You're doing it really well. What is it enough? Do you know what I mean? Is that enough? Well, you're just going to say, yeah, it is, because that's what they set out to do.
Just spilled me drink all over me.
Lock it down. Pay for the pants. But do you understand what I'm saying?
No, not even. Not
like, because it's in a box, in it. The album is in a box.
Right.
You're saying they've set
I feel
out...
like we're losing everyone. What are you on about?
No, I'm talking about the same thing we're on about now. Like, what they're setting out to do this thing, they're doing it really well. It's in its own little world.
Right.
You know, when it's ticking all the boxes, yeah, sound. But it's in a box.
Right.
Like, it's all pretty much the same. It's nothing outlandish, nothing crazy, nothing offensive, nothing blue. Right? It's just in the box. And you expect the 1975, well, I do anyway, to fucking volley the shit out this box.
Yeah.
But there's not even like a sense of like, no one's even laced up.
No. I do see what you're saying. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Like, so when they're saying, right, we're going to do what the 1975 does at this moment in time, whatever, yeah? If that's what they're saying, fair enough. But it's very boxy.
Yeah. But, and again, that doesn't necessarily make it a bad thing.
No, it doesn't make it bad. I guess it just like is a bit underwhelming, if anything.
But it's a bit underwhelming, but it's up there.
Yeah.
It can't be that underwhelming if you're putting it up there.
Well, if it opened the lid on the box, you know, it's like, you know,
it'd be goated.
It could be
going
good. Yeah, exactly. So you understand what I'm saying? It's up there,
right?
But it's also got its setbacks. Boxy little bastard.
Right.
This album is.
Just to hark back to your comment about the mix.
The mix, yeah. The mix was interesting.
The mix was interesting. I think there is beauty in that aesthetic. So you
behind the madness.
Because as we know, there's no such thing as a bad mix.
Yeah, so true.
So
their city was a bad mix. Back in the day, that was crazy.
But I think it's mixed to fit in with the thing that it's trying to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, yeah.
Like, it fits the aesthetic.
Yeah, I think the panning was good. I don't think...
The panning was good.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of, like, space.
Right.
It's that, but the needs of space.
It's funny, you know, I don't think there's any way you could be so unspecific yet so esoteric about a mix. The
panning was good.
Not, you know, obviously going into the mix of a song, you instantly lose anybody who doesn't know what the fuck. Like we're musicians, we're mix engineers, exactly. we know what the fuck we're talking about. But like, so like if you were like, oh, you know, I really like the compression on this, like that's like nerdy. But
yeah, that's a bit.
Like, the panning is good. Is like someone who's 2 days into college and has learned what panning is.
Exactly. So it's, you know, it's
saying there's good space, I guess. Easy, but that space can mean different.
You cut me off as soon as I said the panning was good.
It was just a funny comment.
Which is, I think it's straight to the point. People are going to understand that the panning is good. Do you know what I mean? Because my point is, right, when I think about music space,
I just picture it on like a film poster for the album. 5 stars. The panning is good.
Like, I always think of it as like a big fucking horizontal stretch of colour, right?
Right.
And like, that is your space that you use. Not only 3D bollock shit,
right.
Dolby Atmos, right?
Right.
And I think about when you put in space for your instruments and stuff, obviously there's a lot going on. Right. It's very heavy. It's very like, you know, it's busy. It's messy.
Mm-hmm.
But because everything is like organic and live, they've done well to find a space for all the instrumentation.
Yeah.
And like I was saying before, like when I feel like I've been automating the faders like manually and stuff, like I think stuff comes in and out quite well.
I don't think the production is necessarily.
You're sat there, you're like,
I'm just trying to wait for you to shut up.
Yeah, that's what my point is. I think stuff comes in and out nicely.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that the production is necessarily any busier than it has been on previous albums. And I would say that the mix on previous albums has done a better job at getting everything through. This one feels busier because, if anything, the mix has done a worse job at giving everything its own space because everything feels like it's kind of on top of you.
Because it's in the box, or that's because it's in the box.
What do you mean? What are you on about?
With the box?
Yeah, are you talking about the box of like this album's in a box again?
No,
like mixing it in the box.
Not in the box, no, but the album being in the box. You know, they're not doing anything crazy, nothing fancy, nothing wild.
Right.
Like, the one thing I did see him on the tape notes thing is like, these are like the instruments we're going to use, and that's it. We got to deal with it, sort of thing. You've just said this album is not mixed as well as previous albums, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Basically.
Yeah.
So my point I'm trying to get across is, I assume they would have done more bells, whistles, and tricks in other albums, than this one.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not going to sound as great, because they're keeping it coherent.
No, but I would say that. So if we're talking about layers, right? I feel like there's just as many tracks.
Yeah.
In some of these songs.
Yeah.
But each one is not necessarily like has less of its own space, but it's like, I think it's just because it's all live instrumentation. Obviously it sounds more analog, it sounds more raw.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I feel like we shouldn't dive too deep into the ins and outs of mixing a record.
Yeah, all I'm saying is it's not going to be as surgical.
Yeah.
And that's why it'll sound
well, yeah,
worse.
It plays into the aesthetic of the album, so it works.
You
know what I mean? Have you got anything else you would like to discuss, or do you want me to just keep rattling off notes?
Well, I think I think we got a little go flow. Do you know what I mean? You're saying a lot of stuff, we're going off that. Okay. So, the vocals.
Talk to me.
Vocals. Going, again, to the big boy, Mr. Antonio.
Yeah.
When we've looked at his music, we're like, he's not the greatest singer.
Uh-huh.
So he does a lot of vocal production, and it's very drowned out, and it kind of sits back. Feels that muddy space.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's kind of got a similar vibe on this album.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that is what it was going out for. If he's like, this is kind of how I do it. Mm-hmm. What do you think? And they're like, oh yeah, it sounds good. But I just wanted them to be a bit more clear.
Yeah.
A bit more.
Well, Fantano did say that.
Did he?
Yeah. I don't know how much I agree with him at the time, but I think there's definitely some songs where I understand what you're saying. What's the tune? About You.
Right.
Is very, very drowned out. And it's a pretty good song, you know what I mean? And everyone's comparing it to like a new age version of Robbers from the first record, which maybe. Nothing will ever be Robbers, but like, you know what I mean?
I see that.
Yeah. But that in particular, like, I feel like I've gotten into it the more I've listened to it, but it would have been a lot more emotionally resonant the first time if I could hear what was going on a bit better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's very drowned out. There's a lot of reverbs and a lot of delays, and maybe that plays into the aesthetic they were going for. Maybe that is them sort of paying homage to sort of shoegazy, My Bloody Valentine type shit.
Sounds like Cigarettes After Sex.
Yeah, well, again, that's very like quite raw and drowned out, isn't it?
Vocals could be more out there.
Just in general.
On that song, yeah.
As in out there as in like popping, or out there as in?
Both. Like, slow, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's a slow sort of mellow song, and I just think he could have filled a bit more of the time.
I liked the female vocal on that though.
Yeah, that was a very, very nice surprise.
Yeah. That's Adam Hahn, the guitarist. That's his missus. Yeah, she's not an actual. She's not like an artist, I don't think. She's just his missus that they got
think you can kind of hear that, to be fair. But that's what makes it good as well. Like, if you're whacking someone who everyone knows and is a fucking sick, crazy vocalist, and you can back it doesn't really...
Yeah, I've seen a lot of TikToks where people are like saying that they listened to About You and thought they were about to get into their new favourite indie singer.
Oh,
and like she's not got any songs.
Yeah, she was an alright singer.
Yeah, she got a nice voice. But I think it definitely worked for that song.
It definitely 100% fits. What do I think? What have I got going on? Do
you want to talk Oh Caroline?
We'll get there in a sec. I've just put think, again, I always because it's 10 or 11 songs, whatever. The track listing needs to be a bit more the poppy ones are at the beginning.
Right.
And it goes towards the slower sort of emotional sort of songs towards the end.
Let me just recap. I just want to look at the track listing.
No problem, friend.
To work out what we're saying here. Yeah, I get what you're saying. It does sort of tail off to a bit towards the end.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not necessarily. I think it would arguably feel more disjointed if you put somber ones in between the bangers. You know what I mean?
Well,
I think it flows quite well having a lot of the bangers back to back, and then going into the more somber ones. You know, your Wintering, your Human 2.
I very, very much got off this album. It was like a movie, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I feel like there's a beginning, a middle, and end. There's the exciting bits. There's the lull. There's the breakup or whatever. I can sort of hear the storyline going through. And then when I think that's when I was like, oh, but 3 slow, sad songs towards the end, isn't that really going to be the hurrah?
Well, I think About You sort of fills that out a little bit, even though it's not, up tempo. That doesn't mean it isn't grand. It
sounds like a rom-com.
And emotional sounding. Yeah, I get what you're saying. But it does have that. I think that's a good conclusion. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. It's all right. I just think it could have been. There was a better way of doing it. Don't ask me where I would have put what. That's not my job.
Yeah. I definitely wouldn't have put Happiness that high. I wouldn't put Happiness as the first proper song.
Yeah.
On the record. But again, that's just my beef with Happiness. It's probably my least favourite tune on the album.
It's my least favourite. Human 2, the first thing I've got is Open as Fuck.
I really liked Human 2, Always very emotional.
I do think it could have been embellished more.
Human 2
This one is long.
This
one is long.
Human 2. Human 2 gives me the vibes of I Couldn't Be More in Love off A Brief Inquiry. I don't know if you remember that tune.
The one thing, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes, right, they're sax.
I was just about to talk to you about sax.
The sax on Too Shy is fuck yes. This is amazing, right? But the more I'm hearing the sax,
you think it's overused on this one?
Yeah, I'm it's kind of losing the power.
What I was going to say was that I think part of what makes it Bleachers-y is some of the sax lines. So half of the album was done in America and half was done in England. The shit that they did in England, they used their usual sax player, John Waugh.
John Waugh?
Yeah. I think that's what you pronounce it. Waugh. It's like W-A-U-G-H. John Waugh. But when they did the stuff at Electric Lady in New York, they used Jack's guy who does all the Bleachers stuff.
Yeah.
Can't remember his name. But I was like, that
he's got
definitely, you can hear that. That's part of what makes it so Bleachers-y.
Right, okay.
You know what I mean?
I see what you're going for.
Because a lot of those lines are very much like the last Bleachers record.
They could have picked off a few of them saxes.
Just textual though, innit? A lot of the time, it's not even a main.
But then I understand.
It's not like a sax solo.
Yeah.
They're just in there. Because I guess if you're not using a lot of the electronic production, they're trying to embellish with live instruments.
What they've got, yeah. I understand. I just think it was a little bit overkill.
Yeah, and that's fair. That's fair. I've got earnest and sincere lyrics. They get a bit more basic and boring, like on I'm in Love With You and Happiness. But when you look at it on stuff like All I Need to Hear, I think it really works.
Yeah.
With the song. And it's a change of pace, I guess, because obviously in the past he's quite humorous, and not to say that he's not humorous on this album, but he does sort of he almost pulls the rug sometimes, you know what I mean? Because as we know, sincerity is scary. So for example, like Somebody Else, get someone you love, get someone you need, fuck that, get money. You know what I mean? Like it's like he's being sincere, and then it's like, nah, actually, it's just a joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas on this album, there's less of that. There's more
one thing
just saying it as it is.
That I do is when I when I listen to it on Spotify, I'll read the cards at the bottom.
Right.
Do you know of this?
Not really.
I'll show you in a second.
I'm not a Spotify user.
It's basically like Matt Healy's like written some shit about each song, and then it comes to the one like, this is what this is, this is what this is about.
Yeah.
And he says on one of them, like, someone might have been his missus, to be fair. I was like, listen, stop singing about your dick. And just like be a bit honest.
Yeah, well,
like, I think, is it with, what song is it? Is it I'm in Love With You? Where he was like, obviously this song he keeps going for a little bit, and like you're saying, it just comes back. She's like, if that's what you need to say, just fucking just go and do it.
I saw in he did an interview with Zane Lowe, and in that he was saying like, he was trying to embellish it with metaphors and stuff, and like George and Adam were just like, just fucking say it. You know what I mean? You spent 4 albums like toying around these sort of subjects.
Yeah.
Just say it outright. You know what I mean? That's fine. So, and like we spoke about on the last 1975 album, actually, it's like sometimes scary to do big out and out pop songs.
Yeah.
So like being a bit insincere and a bit jokey, kind of, you own it a bit more. But I appreciate the slight change of theme or change of delivery, shall we say?
Yeah, but it works in context, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
I like the writing on is it Winter in the Christmassy one?
Yeah.
I remember listening to it, and like when he talks about, like, he says he wants a chair for his mum, she's got a bad back.
Yeah.
I was like, bit of a mad thing to say, like what would your mum say? And then he comes back and he says, my mum says she doesn't like that line. I was like, that is fucking, that's unbelievable.
It's funny, isn't it? I
like that man knew what I was thinking when he sang that line.
I like how he, especially in that tune, and he's done it quite a lot in the past, I like how he just like names people and like writes about specifics of people, you know what I mean?
I think I've wrote that in my notes as well. Like I love a good name drop.
Or even like Dad's an Otis Redding at a wedding kind of guy with the best voice you've ever heard, you know what I mean? I like that shit. It's cool, it makes it real, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I think like when he talks about like, he talks about someone being a vegan and stuff, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, in our lives and stuff, like you can relate that person to another person, which is always good.
It's good imagery as well, like you can picture what the fuck's going on. But yeah, I mean, have you got anything else? I'm sort of pretty much running towards the end, apart from talking about Oh Caroline, which, as we know, is a straight up banger.
Yeah, I think Looking for Somebody to Love is a bit crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's one of the moments where he does do the classic 75 thing of like poppy sound with
it kind of
makes
me feel guilty for liking the song.
Because it's about school shootings.
Yeah, but I don't know if it, like, no one jokes about school shootings, not joking about it. Am I?
No.
It isn't?
No.
So why am I fucking
Yeah. Well,
doing this to it?
Well, it's not joking, but it's still a bop, innit? You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like,
it makes me feel a bit iffy. Guilty is what it makes you feel. It makes you feel guilty for liking it.
Well, it's like, I guess you could say the same about Love It If We Made It. It's about all this terrible shit, but it's a banger.
But
that is how you discuss social issues right there. Right, you put it in a fucking sweet pop song so people love the fuck out of it.
It is, but I Love It If We Made It, because it's so many different issues, circling around through the verses and whatnot. And this is like just pinpointing that one thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so go on.
Oh Caroline.
Yeah, Oh Caroline is the least written thing I've got.
Gives me Toto vibes.
I think you said this, actually.
Yeah.
It's because when, like I said before, like I didn't listen to it because I knew he was going to talk about it. And you was like, can I just play you this one song?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was Oh Caroline.
Yeah. Well, because I think even though, again, like we spoke about, it's not pushing the boat out by any means, but it's just a really good pop song, I think. And I like the production on it. It was maybe the only one, on first listen, some of them had emotional resonance with me. Right. But it was the only one that made me go like, you know what I mean? Do a little stank face, you know what I mean? When
I really like the piano. I really like the piano.
In Oh Caroline?
Yeah. It sounds very American. It sounds very American. But there's just something about it.
Yeah.
Teases me a little bit.
Teases you a little bit, yeah. But I think that's sort of... And I'm surprised I didn't put that out as a single,
Yeah.
I would have preferred that as Happiness. It would have got me well more excited.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good blueprint for that album, I think. It's a good, like, if you were to, like, what's this album sound like? Oh Caroline has a good portion of a lot of the different textures that the album holds within that one song.
100%. Especially towards that, like, sort of, like, middle 80s sort of bit as well. Do you know what I mean? Where it does tune it up a bit. Yeah. Where would you put it then, single wise?
Oh, Caroline.
Second.
Third. I'd go Part of the Band. I'm in Love with You. Oh, Caroline. But I sort of get why it wasn't a single. Like saying it'll be a fan favorite from the album.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't be surprised if they put a music video out to it at some point. But I guess because it's like it opens with "I've been suicidal," so like you probably can't chuck that on the radio, can you? But still, banger.
I would have put it out second. I think Part of the Band is a good staple.
Yeah,
this is
Part of the Band might be the best song on the album.
Yeah, I'd have it second underneath the first.
That's nice.
Well, that's just
wild.
my preference.
That is wild. I feel like a lot of people won't agree with that.
I don't know, I just like it. But it's because of what you're saying, do you know what I mean? It would make sense and it would be better for the fans and the culture to do what they've done before.
Yeah.
For the 1975.
Yeah, it's why like on notes, even though I understand the Greta Thunberg thing, it's like I was still a bit miffed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, because I'm not going to go back and listen. Once you've heard the Greta Thunberg thing once, you're not going to go back and listen to it again. No.
Whereas with the other ones, it works. It does work. But I liked the change. The change was welcomed by me.
Yeah.
And when I listen, I get the feeling like this isn't even a song. Like you're saying it could be a song, which I understand, but they must have thought at the time this is not a song.
Yeah, it's not a traditional like verse, chorus thing. It just sort of meanders along.
And it does kind of like he talks about actual shit going on, specifics in his time in life. But it's a good little tune, and it's not even a song.
Yeah, I think just briefly before I guess we draw to a close.
Yeah.
I will maybe say lyrically on this album. Obviously, I touched before saying that he is more sincere, but I think it's maybe some of his cleverest lyrics in a while, you know. Notes had a distinct lack of it in areas, I think. I feel like he's really honed in on this. So like you're saying in the 1975 track, he's painting pictures more, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I found this a really interesting listen lyrically. It's one of them that, and this actually, I've not thought about this until just now. So a lot of 75 records, like, lyrically, obviously, you do gain more depth the more you listen to it, but I find a lot of it is like, I'll listen to it more and notice musical production elements that I hadn't noticed originally. But I think the more I've listened to this, it's been the lyrics that have really, like, pulled me in. You know what I mean? I'm interested in it.
Yeah, I think that time will tell with that one.
Yeah.
If we ever come back and, like, revisit, obviously. It's going to fucking put a dent in the rank somewhere.
Yeah, also we should say, like, you could go watch, we ranked all previous 4 1975 albums.
We did.
Last year. So I'll put that, like, video, like, here somewhere. You can go watch that. But yeah, I guess at some point we will have to update that. But is it worth a full episode? Don't know.
No, we could probably do, like, a compilation of this is out, where we're sliding it in.
Yeah.
But all in all, right, as I said earlier, I'd put it up there. I'm very happy with the album.
Yeah, I haven't really got any major complaints. I don't know if I'd put it up there. I don't think it's the best thing they've ever done. And like I say, it's not really pushing the boat out by any means, but it is.
It's done well.
It's just a good all-round album. You know? It's pretty sound.
Pretty sound. It is a pretty sound. It is a pretty sound.
Yeah.
If I had to pick on something and be in our bed and be like, oh, this could have been done better, it would have been a bit more out of the box.
Yeah, and that's fair. I see those points.
Like the guitars especially. Like I feel like I'd done very basic for what they do. Like it sounds like them, but it's usually a bit more.
It's
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Roger Rhyme or something.
That's a fair point.
But that's all I'd say. But yeah, I'll put it up there.
Well, there we go.
Well done, fellas.
1975.
Keep it up, Shaggers.
Being funny in a foreign language. Verdict. Pretty
sound.
Pretty sound. Pretty good.
Pretty sound.
So, before we end the episode, I guess we'll do a little...
Holy fuck.
Give you a little dose of Jack's tactical tracks.
But it is time for the tactical tracks segment, which fucking comes and goes. This bad boy.
Yeah, we do.
Comes and goes.
We do tactical tracks every now and again. We did it in the last episode.
We dabble.
Do you want to explain the premise of tactical tracks?
I can try.
For anyone who's not seen the podcast before.
So, tactical tracks. It's a good idea, to be fair. It was a good idea. I will ask...
If you do say so yourself. Carry on.
To be honest. I will ask Liam a question. And the answer is usually a song.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Jack puts me in a scenario. I answer with a song. He asks me, what song do you think of when this? What song does this? Blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
So,
and we converse.
And we
slightly
converse about said songs.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It is.
It's creative.
I guess it is exciting. So anyway,
he's fucking nearly died.
What's the question this week, my boy?
So today we've got, what song takes you back to a good time with your friends? Oh, isn't that nice?
Oh,
it's a lovely little thing.
Oh, isn't that cute?
It is very cute.
I am gonna say, well, it's not necessarily about a specific one time.
Yeah, you don't have to just think of like, on this day we listen to this song.
When I'm thinking of like, what song makes me think of my friends, Together by the Night Cafe will be up there. Not now. Together by the Night... Sorry, phone was on vibrate, it says silent. Together by the Night Cafe is very much about friendship.
Right.
And I don't know if we used to just listen to it when we were knocking about in cars or whatever, but I put it on my friend... I gave my friend Kate a mixtape CD, as I often do with my friends. Yes. You've received one or two over the time. I should start doing that again, actually.
I'm ready for my next mixtape.
On Kate's mixtape was this song by the Night Cafe. So now whenever it comes on or whatever, she's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, oh, was this on the CD? And yeah.
I did that with Outside by Catfishers on my mixtape.
Yes, yeah. And that always makes you think of the... Yeah. And we went to see the Night Cafe not too long ago. And it came on and it was like, oh, fuck
yeah. The fellas.
Because it's a song about friendship as well, you know what I mean?
That's nice. It's a nice little question, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a nice question. It's wholesome. And the only other thing I'd say is either... what's the Nightly tune? Holding On by Nightly. Because when I didn't... I buy a lot of my music. And I was into that song.
Good honest man.
I was into that song, but I hadn't bought it yet. So the only time I'd really listen to it is on Kate's Spotify if we were out in the car.
Right.
And so that makes me think of being in the car with Kate.
That's nice.
What are you saying?
I've gone for a bit of a more throwbacky sort of tune.
Right.
It's West End Girls by the Pet Shop Boys.
Right.
And for those who play GTA will know that it's on non-stop Pop FM.
Right. Which one's West End Girls?
West End Girls. Da-dum, da-dum.
I don't know. I can, all my head's doing is Uptown Girls.
No, you're ready. We'll give you whatever the fucking...
double copyrighted.
Like, you'll even know it by the intro or the chorus.
Yeah, I recognise that a little bit.
West End Girls.
Is it because it was on GTA?
It is on GTA non-stop Pop. That's the first time I think we heard it.
Right.
Obviously, it's going to be from, I assume the 80s or 90s, something like that, a bit old. But yeah, it was on GTA, and obviously the boys, usually put a lot of hours into the game time. And it just it's a song that has been in many scenarios, like unexpected scenarios.
Yeah.
So we played on GTA and a lot. It reminds you of this one time we were trying to stop the train on GTA. The boys will know what I mean. We went to a house party once and it was on because someone's dad put it on. It was what the fuck? West End Girls. When I went to the Dominican Republic, there was a swing jazz version playing over the speakers.
Okay, nice.
And I was like, what the fuck is West End Girls?
Yeah.
And we played it, we put it on jukebox over the weekend when we was on the stag.
Oh, nice.
Get that bad boy on. So that always reminds me. My point is, when it comes on, it always oh my gosh, it's the
cool
fellas.
That it connects to so many different scenarios.
Yeah, just you don't expect it to be on.
Yeah.
The only one I've got after that is a Super Bass.
Nicki Minaj
Super Bass.
Because
it just reminds me of that whatever year in school that was a good school year.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Were you going to house parties by that age, or was that pre that?
Oh, might be just before that.
Right. Okay.
I think we're a bit too young for house parties, but it was a good song everyone liked at the time.
Yeah.
Everyone was kind of friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there, good little wholesome choices that reminds of good times.
Also, we'll just end on a even more wholesome note. The song that whenever it comes on, I think of you.
Oh, hang on, give me a go on.
Can you guess?
What song would I think?
Think about college and think about your 21st birthday.
I don't remember my 21st birthday.
Twatted, absolutely hammered he was.
Yeah, goosed. What song? An actual song?
What do you mean?
So it's not like a Stranger song? It's not like
no, it's a...
Right, okay. College.
What do you mean an actual song, not like a Stranger song?
No disrespect. So, what song? From college? I know, we'll be there somewhere. It's not... Oh, yeah, One Bass. The right song.
One Bass, Oliver Heldens. Just because, I don't know, man. Just at college, that was one of like the first like dance tunes I got into. And then we'd listen to it maybe in the car every now and again if you give me a lift home. Or
I used to drive you home. In Ponto Kinte.
And then it came on at your party.
At my house.
At your house. And I was like, Jacko, let's go.
I love it when that happens, when there's songs like that.
Yeah, where it comes on, you point at someone. You're like, yep. I always put, if like I'm in the car with like my friends, or if like we're at a party, like we were at the Halloween party the other day.
Yep.
On the playlist was So Far It's Alright, 1975. And because I know like Kate's into it, it's like Kate's favourite 75 tune. Right. And every time she goes, it's my favourite 75 tune. I was like, I know. That's why I put it on.
It's a very Kate thing to say.
Yeah.
Why did I
Yeah, as if it was just coincidence.
A lot of songs remind me of you.
Oh.
A lot of songs remind me of you.
Oh, that's cute.
But I think
I mean, we talk about music a lot. Our life, our connected life is a lot to do with music.
I'd say so. It's changed over the time. Like it used to be purely, but now there's different stuff.
Yeah. Now we do a podcast as well.
I should have told you was going to say that, because I would have picked a certain one.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Boy, man, like a lot of it will be like like Catfish sort of songs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Back in the day type vibes.
Yeah.
Have you still got the mixtape?
Yeah.
It was on an actual tape, wasn't it?
Yeah, because I had fucking 1997 gold
Fiat
Punto. It was a weapon. It did reach 100 miles an hour one time. So I was trying to chase my friend Aaron Smith down the motorway. It was a good car.
It was a good car.
I had a cassette player in, so I had a mixtape.
Yeah, so I had to get this like old school shit. You fucking
old school shit one.
Like Gen Z. I mean, I guess technically we're Gen Z, but you Gen Z motherfuckers don't even know. I had to download the songs first of all. Paid for. Download the songs. There's a 2010s, early 2010s, 2000s reference. Then I had to burn it to a CD. That's a 90s reference. and then I had to play the CD in the CD player. With the tape thing on and burn the CD to the tape. That's a fucking 80s reference, motherfucker.
I did very much appreciate the mixtape. It's with my locked up early Liam McGrath things that I'm going to sell one day.
Get famous.
Yeah. If it ever makes it, I'm going to be in the fucking money, boys.
Sick.
In the money.
Brilliant. Well, there we go.
There it is. The 1975, apparently. This was.
Yeah, crazy episode. Thank you very much for watching and or listening to this episode of the Stereotypical Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. I will link it in the YouTube description.
Down there.
Down below. If you're listening to the audio version. If you're listening to the audio version.
The ideal version.
Then be sure to, follow us on Spotify and all that lot. Subscribe
to
our
YouTube.
YouTube.
Why not? Fuck it.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
That's mad, we should get that.
What? Do we just do this for free?
Yeah, it's just for fun.
Yeah, it's fucked. It's almost as if people don't realise that we're entertaining them for free when they bitch about us on TikTok. I'm making free content for you. Shut up.
TikTok, man. Forgot about TikTok.
Yeah.
Follow us on there
follow
too.
us on TikTok.
TikTok's the one, man.
Leave a hateful comment. Right,
if you understand the reference.
Oh yeah, also Jack's
don't say it, but if you get it, if you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, so I can hear you playing Fandango.
Stereotypical, the 1975, being funny in a foreign language.
Reviewed, mate.
Out.
Bye.